The search intensifies for a submersible bound for the Titanic wreckage site that went missing on Sunday. Rescuers are scouring an area larger than the size of the state of Connecticut, desperate to find the 5 passengers on board before oxygen runs out inside the vessel.
And joining us now is ABC News transportation correspondent Gio Benitez and former ABC News science editor Dr. Michael Guillen. Gio, let's start with you. Just set up for us, where are we right now in these search efforts?
So, Eva, right now we're looking at 3 countries that are involved in this search effort. We're talking about the United States, Canada, and France, which is about to have a ship get to the area, and that ship should be able to go down and grab them with the sort of underwater claw that it has. The problem is they need to find them first, and they have not been able to do that. They have been sending down sonar buoys into the water to see what they could hear, and Canadian aircraft yesterday morning did hear what they call banging underwater, and they heard that for some time, but that was yesterday morning. So we're already talking about 24 hours ago, and that is a critical timeline, because from what we know right now, they have just 20 hours left, about 20 hours of oxygen left on board, and it's just critical to get to them because they are essentially trapped there underwater. Now, if this is able to rise up to the surface, even if it rises up, they still can't get out because they are bolted in. So they really need someone to get to them before that oxygen runs out.
And Gio, with time running out, what do we know about the passengers on board?
So we know that the CEO, DeMarco, the CEO of the company, is on board that ship. We also know there's a businessman and his 19-year-old son. There's a British billionaire on board as well. And then there's a Titanic explorer, a legendary Titanic explorer, P.H. Najoulet, who is on board as well. So there's a mix of tourism and also science that happens on these trips, with passengers paying about $250,000 to get on board and go on this journey. But right now, all the focus is on where are they, and if that ship is still intact. They have so little time to actually get to them.
Dr. Guillen, let's bring you in. You have a unique perspective on this topic because you were involved in a near-death trip to see the Titanic back in 2000. Walk us through what happened to you.
Well, I was at Good Morning America at the time, and my producer received an invitation for me to become the first correspondent in history to report from the Titanic. And how could you say no to that? I had a deathly fear of water. I still do, but I thought this is a job to be done. This is an opportunity that I didn't want to pass up. So we started our journey in Halifax, Nova Scotia, which is just south of St. John's, where these folks took off. We got to the water in the position in the North Atlantic, just above the Titanic, and then we dove. It takes about 2.5 hours. To give you an idea, it takes about 2.5 hours to get to the bottom. You corkscrew down. And then our trip through the bow, our tour of the bow, went perfectly well. But then we started heading towards the stern section. Your viewers might know that when the Titanic sank, it broke into 2 pieces. The bow went straight down. The stern did a somersault and landed on its back, exposing the propeller. So when we were going from the bow towards the stern, my eye caught sight of that propeller, and it stood out to me because it was shiny compared to everything else that's gray and decaying. But then I sensed that the sub that we were in, the submersible we were in, was speeding up, and I thought, wait a minute, we shouldn't be speeding up. We're heading towards this gigantic propeller, which is bigger than even our sub. And I discovered later on that it was just our bad luck that our submersible got caught in a high-speed underwater current, and it drove us right into the blades of the propeller, behind the blades, and we got stuck. And at that point, huge chunks of the Titanic started falling down on us. So it was at that point that I knew we were in a life-threatening crisis.
And Doc, you've talked about seeing that wreckage firsthand. Can you talk about the power of that experience? Why someone would want to see it?
You know, DeMarco, that's a very good question, because most people think of the Titanic as this famous ship. It was supposed to be unsinkable, and yet it sank in its maiden voyage. But what I discovered down there when I was just inches away from the Titanic, I realized this was also a sacred site. This was a grave site. This is where many, many people lost their lives. So there's a real power. I felt it. I even feel it now as I speak to you about it. And when I was in that precarious situation, the thought crossed my mind that wow, I'm going to join these people down here who lost their lives. I'm going to almost become like a ghost. But just let me show you real quickly how much pressure, because this is a very hostile environment in which these 5 folks are in. The pressure, the temperature is very cold, but the pressure is very high as well. When we were above the water, we painted up these little cups, September 2000, which is when I was there. And then another cup was strapped to the outside of our submersible, and this is what it came out to be. So it goes to show you that the pressure is so enormous down there that it squeezes the air out of an ordinary styrofoam cup, and this is the result, this tiny little cup here. So you can imagine the kinds of conditions that these folks are facing. And as Gio pointed out quite correctly, that even if we were to triangulate their location, it's not easy to imagine how you can get a ship that's by now probably sunk to the bottom, so it's 2.5 hours down. But we have to locate them, and we still have to rescue them. It's a long road to hoe.
Yeah.
Less than 20 hours.
Yeah, time is ticking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dr. Michael Guillen and Gio Benitez, our thanks to you both.
Thank you.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.